Hi. So I am making these little Pinecone Christmas trees. Well, the pine cone was already made. I'm painting them and making them into look like little Christmas trees that have been snowed on. And so I went outside, I picked up some regular old pine cones, and I went to my local craft store and got some chalk paint. I'm going to do some other stuff to them too, but after washing them with soap and water and then baking them to make sure that all the little bugs and critters are gone, this is what I do. I start with the base because there's a lot here and it needs to dry. This chalk paint dries really quick. I don't know about other brands because I've never used any other brand, but I can touch this within seconds probably. And I put a pretty good coat on the bottom. These are going to be hot glued down onto a base, so really they're not going to see. I don't do the very, very center because that's where the hot glue is going to go. But I do give it a pretty good coating because I'm not sure what is going to be seen. See, I've got it pretty much covered. And then the way I do it, well, there's several ways I do it, but the fastest way I think that I've learned to do it after doing all of these, and there's more down there, is I just go along and do the edges of certain rows, so like I'm doing the almost bottom row here and maybe the next row up because I want to be able to touch it and hold it in just a minute. So I get a lot of paint, chalk paint on the edges here. And one thing is I don't want to fully coat everything. See how you can still kind of see the brown of the pine cone? But on the edges I do, because the edges I think, I wanted to mimic snow. So, those brown edges are not super pretty. So I like to make it look like the edges have really been snowed on. Okay, so that's kind of that row. And then what I start doing is, see how my pine cone is black on the inside? That's just the color that they are. See how they're black in there? I paint the bottom side, and you can see that in my other pine cones I've done, because I don't really care for the black. If you want to leave yours black, rock on. That is the glorious part about art. You do yours your way. But the cool thing is you can watch these videos and see how other people do it. I did not watch a video on how to make these. I am just going off of imagination, creativity. I don't know what you want to call it. But these little pine cones do have these little seed. See that little thing I just took out of there? That's what the seeds are in. So I don't want those. So if I see one, when I scrubbed them and cleaned them and baked them, most of them went away. But every now and then I still find one in there. So I've just got my pliers and my tweezers to be able to reach in and grab them and pluck those out. Anyway, imagination, creativity, I don't know what you want to call it. But see how I'm doing the bottom side to kind of cover up that black of the color of the natural pine cone in there. You could probably do these any color you wanted. You could even paint these all black and then do some cool stuff with them. I haven't done the tops, this top part here yet, because I don't want to get too much paint on my brush. You can see my brush has gone absolutely nuts with all I've been doing. Because if you get too much on there, see how you still see the brown through there? That's what I want. If you have too much on your brush and you stroke it on, you can tell. I'll show. Oh, here's a perfect example. See how there is so much paint on that one right there? It's because I had too much paint on my brush. I should have gone a lot lighter. So you have to be careful how much paint you get on the edge of your brush before you swipe it on the top. See, like that one. Oops, you didn't see. See, those are just perfect because I want a little bit of brown to still show through. I just want a very light little coat on the top of the branch, if you will. Here, let's see if I can get it up there where you can see. See how that's coming along. I do think that these, I don't know what they're called on a pine cone. I'm going to call them branches. They've got such a cool pattern on them. I know my phone doesn't want to focus very well. And I know if you live in other areas of the country, you're going to have different pine cones. You know, I've seen some that are like huge. Those would be so cool to do. But I don't live anywhere near trees that make those huge pine cones. I mean, I know they're in my state somewhere. I've seen them, but they're not near my home. So, you know, I just get these cute little ones. So I just work with what's outside. I don't buy anything other than the paint that I'm using. And another thing that I thought about doing that I have not tried yet is to spray paint them. You know, clean them, bake them, and then spray paint them different colors. That's a project for another time. Oops, I almost had too much on that one. See how much paint is on that one right there? I think it'd be kind of cool to do some really interesting colors like hot pink, bubblegum pink, kind of like that. Or, I don't know, like a neon blue or something. I think that would be really cool. How I'm going to finish these little things, I'm going to call them trees, even though I know they're pine cones, obviously. But the trees I'm doing they're going to be hot glued down to a base. And I'm going to add glitter a little bit, just like on the edges of the branches. And then I've got some little rhinestones, little like jewel-like things that I'm going to hot glue to make it look like ornaments. I considered putting lights on them, but they're so little, I don't have tiny little strands of lights that are either solar or battery operated. So if you've come up with an idea for that, I'd say go for it. You know, mine are very simple little pine cones that are just, you know, I kind of want that rustic farmhouse feel to them a little bit, if you will. I think that's what you call these. I watch a lot of HGTV and I seem to gravitate towards the rustic farmhouse when they do that kind of style where it's maybe even call it shabby chic a little bit. So this chalk paint that I'm using is water-based, I believe is what they call it. Well, it's acrylic, but anyway, you just wash it with soap and water. So it's easy to get off your brushes or out of your clothing, off your hands. You don't have to have paint thinner. And so I know my brush is pretty wild looking. Look at that, because I jam it in between these little branches. But since I don't have to be exact with where I'm putting the chalk paint, I can be a little bit wild in my strokes. See, I'm going to jam it in there. Some of these are very close together, so that's what makes my little bristles. When I clean my brush at the end, the little bristles go back together. They're just that way because, you know, I've jammed them in between. And thankfully, these are better brushes than just Dollar Tree. But hey, you know what? If you don't have a brush and you want to do this project and you pick up free pine cones off the ground like I did, I'd say use whatever you've got that's for the least amount of money. Because if you want to sell these, they're not going to be, a $50 item or a $100 item. They're going to be, $5, if even. So you're not going to be making a whole lot of money. But I just love to do crafts. And I saw these cute little pine cones laying on the ground and thought, those look like little Christmas trees to me. And so I did go online and find out how to clean a pine cone, which I had no idea that this is a tip for you, I learned, when you have to scrub them with soap and water, and then you bake them on a cookie sheet for 20 minutes at 220 degrees, and they close back up. They, right now all their branches are open, if you will, but when they come out of the oven, they're all closed back up. Which I'm glad that I watched the video on how to clean them and what to do, because that would have made me go, uh-oh, if I didn't know that. So that was something interesting. These pine cones, to me, I thought they were pretty rigid, which they are. They're breakable. But with a little bit of heat, they close back up, which I'm like, wow, that's really cool to me. I don't know. I'm geeking out on it. I know. Anyway, but what I did is I put down an old towel on my counter next to my sink. And when they came out of the oven, I just laid them on the old towel. And I would say within a couple of hours, most of them were open. I would say within a day, they were all exactly open again, just as they were when I picked them up off the ground outside. I picked them up on July 4th. Today is July 9th. I do work a full-time job, so I don't have all day to sit and do this. But, I picked up, I think, 75. It really didn't start out being that many. I just kept picking them up. They were so cute and so perfect looking to me. Anyway, it's one of those things for me where it's almost cathartic to just sit and do this, because, I won't say this in a negative way, but you don't really have to think when you're doing it. You can just sit and enjoy and think of other things. Last night I was painting and I was listening to music. I don't know. It's just kind of a fun thing. So the other thing is, see how I'm getting way down in there on the base of the pine cone / tree? Can you see? I did some earlier here. I have an example of one. Let me grab it. See how the inside, you can still see all the black on the stem of the tree? I'm going to go back and touch those up because I found that I like them better when I get my paintbrush down in there and I get just a little bit, I kind of dab at it. That's where my brush looks like it does. Just to make it look like the snow might have blown in a little bit. I don't know if you've ever been or maybe even live in a place where there's a lot of snow. I have. And sometimes the snow comes from all directions, top, bottom, sides, everywhere. I lived in Minnesota for a few years, and there's one of those seed. I just got a piece of it. Rats. And in Minnesota, there are whiteout blizzards. Ooh, there it went. And snow feels like it's coming from every direction. Even ground up. It is crazy. So I wanted this to look like the tree / pine cone has been just inundated with snow from all directions. Oop, didn't get any on my brush that time. And so I'm just going back and double checking to make sure I got all the little spots on the inside upside down. I'll do the very top in 1 second. I still have some, but I think that side looks good. Okay, see, I still have some tops to do right in here. When I first get the paint on my brush, I try and go like the underneath part a little bit, and that kind of wipes some off so that I don't put so much on the top of the branch, if you will, of the pine cone there. Because I learned, like I said, that you get too much on there and then it goes boom, and then it doesn't look the way you want it to. If I compare like the first one that I painted compared to these that are near the end, I've only got 4 more to do after this. There's a vast difference of learning how I liked it, you know, how much paint to get on my brush. And so if you're brand new at crafting, you'll just have to experiment and see. The good thing is, like I said, I can go back and touch up some of these that, you know, didn't get the paint where I wanted it. I mean, obviously you can add paint to a project, but you can't take paint. Well, I guess you can take paint away. You could get some remover, but that's a lot of work. I'd rather go a little bit light. Now I'm just in here touching my paintbrush to the stem, if you will, so that that paint covers the blackness of the trunk of the pinecone / tree. And that's what I'm going to be doing to touch up that one in just a moment here. But I don't know if you can see how I'm kind of getting my brush way back in there. My poor paintbrush. Okay. All right. I think that one might be done. I like to really kind of coat the very top, because usually snow comes down from top to bottom. So you would think that the tops would get more snow on them if you really want to mimic snow. But like I said, snow blows all over the place, man. I've been in Colorado in snowstorms that you seriously do not know what direction it's coming from. I mean, obviously you know it's coming from the clouds up above you, but it can be wild. Okay, I feel good about this little guy. See, there's his bottom that we started with. And there's his top. So that is a complete one. All right, I want to just touch up this one real quick to show you how I do this. I mean, obviously, see, I missed a lot. This must have been one of the first ones that I did that I wasn't painting the bottoms of each branch. So this one's going to require some touch-up. I'm just going to go in, get my paintbrush to cover. I mean, I think they're pretty in the way that, you know, they come off the tree. These are a certain type that have black. But I want it to look more Christmassy, more white, more snowy. So I'm just getting my paintbrush way down in there and touching up all those spots. And if you like that sparse look and you don't mind whatever color is the underneath part of your pinecone / tree, then don't do this. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about art, is you do what makes you happy, what you like. And if others like it, great. Especially if, you know, they want to buy something. But if they don't, that's fine. I truly am one of those who believes that art is in the eye of the beholder. Like, there's some art that I just don't understand. You know, I've gone to galleries before when I've been in Washington, D.C., the Smithsonian's and stuff. I was like, wow, that is really hanging on the wall of a Smithsonian. You know, I have a friend in Texas who is an actual artist, and she does beautiful work. I mean, I think her stuff should be on the walls of the Smithsonian. But, you know, it is subjective. And it doesn't always have to be subjective in a negative way. See how I'm just going in and just kind of touching all the little spots to make it look a little more snowy. And so what I'm going to do is once I get done with these 4 that aren't even started yet, I'm going to go back and look at all the ones I painted early on and probably do some touching up, you know. There, it's looking better now. See how it's more white on the stem area here? The other thing is you can see, like on this one right here, see how you can see exactly where my paintbrush hit the branch and came out, and then there's nothing down in there. I want to go back and kind of touch that a little bit so it's not so obvious that a paintbrush did that. See, now you can see the snow, if you will, paint is a little bit further back in there. So I don't want it to look, I don't want people to go, oh, I can see right where the paintbrush started there. You know, I want it to be a little more subtle. Sometimes it's hard to get your paintbrush back there. So that's a good reason why to have a couple sizes. This is my smaller brush. This is, I've been using an angle brush. See how it's just a little longer. But I like this one because it's small enough to get into the areas I want it, need it to get into. Yet it gives you a good coverage because of how many bristles there are. But seriously, you can do and use whatever kind of brush you want. I would not, especially with chalk paint, use a super expensive brush. You know, like I said, you can wash it out with soap and water, but I can't see using, you know, like $100 brush on a chalk project like this. That just, to me, doesn't make sense. But if that's what you've got at home, use it. Okay. Oh, I see one more spot I want to add. Just a titch too, right in the middle, down there. Okay. See how that looks a little bit more snowy on the inside, right by my thumb. I see a spot. Let's see if I can touch. There we go. See? I think this looks better, personally. So, that's the project I've been working on, and like I said, I've got 4 more to go, and